Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a phenomenal young lady that I had the pleasure of meeting a little bit over a year ago. She was actually one of the hosts on my very first podcast that I had ever been on. And so I'm excited about the opportunity to have her aboard this evening. She is the founder and CEO of the Dynamic Weight Loss and Wellness Company, and she's just not concerned about your physical fitness. I mean, she is definitely somebody you want to check out if you want to get summer ready. But what makes her special and what she does is she's also concerned about your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, even your spiritual and financial well-being. And she understands that when you combine all of these factors together, you become an unstoppable force capable of accomplishing anything, capable of overcoming any challenges or obstacles in life. And she's taking some time out of her very busy schedule to kind of hang out with us this evening to share a little bit about her journey, a little bit about her story, with the hopes of educating, inspiring, uplifting, empowering others. And so it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you my very special guest, Miss Shanane Fleming, also known as Coach Shae. Shae, thank you so much for being in the show with us today.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. Thanks so much for that wonderful, beautiful introduction as well. I'm so excited to be here. It's so amazing how things come back around full circle. Like, y'all, this time last year, I was interviewing him. Now he's interviewing me. So this is so wonderful. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. My name is Coach Shae. I go by Coach Shae. My name is Shanane. I'm the owner of Dynamic Weight Loss and Wellness. I am here to educate, motivate, and inspire you. That is my purpose. I also just love doing this public speaking and podcasting thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And we're excited to have you. And I know that you are going to have a powerful story to share with us. And so I'm not going to even waste any time. We're going to just jump right on into this thing. So Shae, when it comes to, our journeys, our stories, I'm a firm believer that you really can't capture the full essence of one's journey without speaking to where it all begins. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the beginning. And so if you would, as you reflect back on the beginning of your journey, of your story, tell us, what was it like for you growing up? Fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any challenges along the way that you had to deal with in growing up. If you would just kind of give us a feel for what that experience was like for you, so we can kind of get that foundational basis of where your story begins.
Okay, I love that. I love telling my story. So I was raised by a single parent. I grew up in a single parent household. It was pretty much just me and my mom. My dad was incarcerated a lot of my life. So like for the first 13 years, it was pretty much communication through writing, writing letters. We didn't have stuff like this back then, y'all. We didn't have stuff like this. So it was writing letters was, the form of communication. I was raised by a very strong Black woman. She made sure I stayed in my books. Books was my outlet. Like most people had sports as an outlet. I didn't really have that because we was in the hood, so we didn't really have transportation. So my mom made me write a lot and read a lot and things that I could do that was tangible. So school was like my safe haven and my way to show people what I could do. So school was my performance-based area. So I was very active in school growing up. I was student council president, a treasurer, things like that. I was a big activist in school, debate team, things like that. I love doing poetry contests, talent shows, anything that I could do to display my talent in school because that's what I had. My mama didn't let me have friends within my environment because we didn't live in the best environment. But we started in Pleasant Grove. We started in Oak Cliff, and then we kind of migrated to Pleasant Grove. And so Pleasant Grove wasn't the best neighborhood to raise, a kid. So my mama really pretty much kept me in the house. So I was one of the kids that everybody at school considered a sheltered child. I didn't get to really hang out, and I didn't get to go to the skating ring every weekend and the malls and the movies. And it's just because we didn't have it like that. Like we didn't have it like that for me to be able to go out like that and do those type of things. So I poured all of my energy into school. So I was an A on a roll student there, and that's where I excelled in my academics. And so that's where a lot of things that happened in my life happened as far as like successful things, because like I stayed in my books. Like even to this day, I'm still like the nerdy type of person. Like I read. I encourage my kids to read. Like we have a whole pretty much library in the house because I'm always collecting books. I like to write, so I have a lot of journals because I was always journaling, writing, reading. So that kind of was embedded in me and kind of something that I still do now. I didn't realize it until I started getting older. Like, man, I always been on stages and I always been performing and I always been talking. And so it just kind of been embedded in me because my mama never wanted me to be afraid to speak to people. She would constantly put me in front of people like, she would always say, I'm not going to live forever. So you got to talk for yourself. I'm not going to be here forever. So you got to talk for yourself. So certain things are just so deeply ingrained and embedded in me as like a child, like as young as 5 years old. So that's kind of where my basis was. Like mom suffered from a lot of mental health issues, things that I didn't really catch on to till I got about 12 years old. A lot of alcohol abuse, a lot of drug abuse. I seen my first dead body probably when I was like 5 or 6 years old. One of my mom's best friends had passed away in our living room. And when I woke up, my mom was like screaming hysterically. And she's screaming hysterically and trying to get a lady CPR. And I just remember just standing there like in awe, like I'm not knowing what's going on at that very time. But as I got older, and it was like I always understood certain things because my mom was like, she told me what happened. She was like, we was in here doing things we wasn't supposed to be doing, and she overdosed. And at that time, I'm probably like 5 or 6 years old. But for some reason, I understood that. Like I understood like they was doing something and that had happened. And I think from that point on, that's really when I like developed like this thing for people. And then I'm telling y'all this story as to lead to a whole different other things that eventually come to, pass with as these questions go along. But it's a lot of things that I seen in my childhood that affect a lot of people in different ways that I didn't allow to affect me as I got older. I didn't want to become a product of my environment. I didn't want to become the things that I had been exposed to. So it's like two things can happen when you grow up in a rough environment. You either conform because you like, this is comfortable, or you become like resistant because you see what this type of environment turns people into. So I was one of the people like, I see what this environment turned people into, and I just never wanted to be one of those people.
Wow, wow. Well, I guess first off, I appreciate your transparency and sharing as you did. And I think there's a number of different takeaways that we can draw from that. Of course, obviously, coming in a single parent household, I was the same. It's a natural instinct. And I think not to just say for any mother, but particularly for Black mothers, they understand, the challenges that you're already faced with the world, the way that it is. And I appreciate the fact that your mom, went out of her way to do what she could to not only protect you, but to keep your mind focused on things that were most important. So I love the fact that you were encouraged to read and write. I love the fact that you were encouraged to be on stages in front of people, to get comfortable in that. Now, of course, knowing what you do today and how you impact people and how you share, I can't help but to make that connection and say that wasn't by accident. That was divine intervention. Your mother was specifically assigned to impart that in you at a very early age to position you for the greatness that you were going to walk into as you got into your adulthood. And a part of that journey, which is what people need to understand too, is you're not going to always have a smoothness, if you will, in that journey. There are going to be some things that you had to be exposed to, that you had to see, that you had to bear witness to, because it allowed you to not only be able to get some discernment as to what to mess with and what to leave alone, but having gone through that, it empowers you to be able to empower others, because they can relate to you. They can say, she understands where I'm at and where I come from. But they can also see that you didn't make excuses. You didn't allow your environment. Oh, I came up in a single parent household. Or because I grew up in a rough neighborhood, that I can't be anybody. My listeners need to understand, this girl just told you, hey, I was an A student. I was balling out in school. I stayed out of trouble. I stayed focused. I stayed locked in. I stayed active. So even with money being tight, I was still able to stay active in a lot of things. My mom just had to be creative in what she can make me active in. So if I'm limited on transportation, I'm limited on cash, there's still things that you can do to enhance yourself, to grow, to develop, to be a better version of yourself. And so it's wonderful to hear that your mother had the foresight to see that, as well as you, even at coming up, as the more and more you got exposed, you began to start to put the pieces together. And again, this is the formulation of where your journey goes, which is why I like having these conversations to start out with, because that beginning speaks everything. It speaks to everything of what lies ahead, why you had to go through what you had to go through in order to be where you're having to be, or where you're destined to still go to. It's the connectors. You have to kind of connect those dots together, put the pieces of the puzzle together. So I appreciate you sharing that, because it speaks a lot already to the powerful story and the power of living example that you are, as a leader, as somebody who's out here trying to empower people and pour into people and be of encouragement to people. So that's a wonderful foundational basis that you have to work with. So with that said, again, as we go through our upbringings, eventually we land our way into adulthood, and as life passes along, we gain a grand amount of different experiences, some good, some challenging. But every now and then, on the challenging side, every now and then, if you live long enough, you're going to be faced with certain storms that cross your path. And some of those storms are going to be at a level that, it hits a little different. Storms
Mhm.
that, even if you're strong in your faith, even if you're strong in your courage and belief systems and all of those things, sometimes we get hit with some storms that they hit a little different. That the weight, the burden of them, the pressure of them all are such to where we question, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to overcome this? We may feel defeated. We may feel lost. We may feel alone in those situations. And so, with that said, if you would, tell us about a time where you felt like you were in such a situation where you didn't see a way out. You weren't sure how you were going to make it. You had some fears. You had some doubts. You had some worries. Yeah, obviously, you're here today. Thank goodness. So I can trust and believe that you ultimately made your way through it. But if you would share with us a time where that was the space, that dark moment, that lonely moment that you were in. What was that experience like for you? And what was ultimately the turning point where you began to see some light at the end of the tunnel and come up out of that trying storm in your life?
Thanks for asking that question. I just want to start out by saying, since I read a lot, it's no successful person that hasn't experienced some type of tragic moment. Oprah went through so much tragedy. Tyler Perry went through so much tragedy. Viola Davis, all the greats experienced so much heavy and hard hits before they reached their success. I look back at them and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I would have made it through that, right? And these are great examples of very stoic people that have very, very strong backbones, right? And so I look at these type of people to try to gain insight on how to make it through some of these things. Because I'm like, if they can do it and they made it this far, it have to be something that I can do. So I want to talk about grief.
Hmm.
And I want to talk about grief in many aspects as well. Like, we often think about grief as in somebody just passing away, dying, them not being here in physical form. But it's also grief in other areas, like grief of friendships, grief of losing family members when you start becoming successful friends along the way. Things like that happen as well. So I want to walk y'all through a path that's kind of been for the past, I want to say about 4 years, 4 or 5 years actually. Back in 2018, in September 2018, I lost my daughter. She was born stillborn, and that brings me to, we have to be mindful of what we ask God, what we say. And there's certain things that have happened in my life that make me know that our words hold weight. Our words are very powerful, and our words cast spells. Believe me, our words are so, 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 so powerful. I say that because when I was pregnant, when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was in such a bad place. I was in such a bad place. Like, I had just had a baby, probably like 9 months before that. And I was already like going through postpartum depression. I was already like in my own state of suffrage. And I'm like, how can you get pregnant again so fast? Like, I'm beating myself up. Like, it's nobody that can beat you up more than your own self. And I was beating myself up about getting pregnant so fast. And I was like, God, I don't want this baby. Like, I don't want to be pregnant. I don't want this baby. And when I found out about it, it was at a terrible time. When I found out about the pregnancy, it was just to me, it was a bad time for this. I'm like, this is terrible timing. I don't want to deal with this. God, take it away, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, because time just kept going on and time just kept going on, I'm not knowing the energy that I'm giving my child. I'm giving my child the energy of rejection. I'm rejecting my child because I'm telling God I don't want my baby. So as the pregnancy go on and on, I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I have to accept that nothing has happened and the baby's still here. So I got to accept it. I say about 6 months. Nothing had happened. About the 8.5, 9 month mark, it's about 37 weeks, I go for a regular checkup, like regular. And my baby have no heartbeat no longer. And I remember getting to the hospital, and I remember one of my friends, most hurtful thing ever. I remember one of my friends telling me, well, you said you didn't want the baby anyway. Most hurtful thing ever. But I did. That's what I said. And it always sits so heavy on me because I still remember to that day, like that I did. I told God that. And we have to be so mindful what we tell God that we want, because you will get it. If you don't be mindful in how you ask for it,
Mm-hmm.
you will get it in an unexpected way. So God took my baby from me. He was like, okay, I will show you. I will show you. And he took my baby. I was like, okay. It was so much lessons I learned at that moment. The very next day that I'm in the hospital and I'm sitting there and I'm just like not knowing what to do. I couldn't believe this happened to me. I hadn't had the epiphany that I had now, of course. Then at that point, I'm just like, God, why is this happening? How could you do this? If you love me, how could you do this? Me and God had lost a relationship, yo. Me and God I was upset. I was upset with God because I couldn't believe that you said you love me and you could do something like this to me. Like, how could you do this to me? You said you love me. If you love me so much, how could you hurt me? And it took a while, took a lot of prayer. A lot of people was praying for me to help me get through that part in my life, because I was upset. I was like, we didn't get no time together. We didn't get to know each other. Like, this is impossible. Like, how, it's unbelievable. And then I started to be like, I got out of the disbelief, because grief go through stages. So I got out of the disbelief, and I was like, okay, God have to be trying to tell me something. What do I supposed to learn from this? This have to be a lesson, right? And I think a lot of the times we wallow in woe is me. What did I do instead of okay, what can I do to make things right, to put me in a position where I can move forward? Because I was in a very depressed state. Like it took one day for my cousin to come and drag me out of my room and pick me up and throw me on his back and carry me down the stairs and was like, I can't watch you do this to yourself any longer. You can't stay in this room anymore. You can't do this any longer. And I just like, okay, God, you gotta show me what I'm here for. Because at that time, even the two, it's like when you're going through depression and you lost a child, it make you feel like you don't have nothing else to live for, even though I had living children. Like in my mind, I'm just like, this is it. I couldn't even be openly available for my two living children because I was too busy grieving and mourning my child that I had lost. And so I was like, how can I get back to myself? How can what can I do? God, I need to know my purpose. I need to know what I'm here for. So I started seeking out like self-development books and things that I already knew how to do. I just wanted to master that and expound on that. So I'm like, I'm already good at speaking. I have about 10 years of medical experience under my belt. So those were things that I just started looking at what I could cultivate under that umbrella. And I was like, okay. I found life coaching and I was like, okay, that's something I would be interested in because at that time I was like, it was people like me that had lost a child that were hurting, that needed somebody to talk to, that needed somebody that understood what had happened. Because when you haven't went through that type of experience, it is no way nobody can tell you how to feel, they wouldn't know what to say or what to do. So um, that was one pivotal point in my life. And in the same breath, I started school for my associate's degree like the next day that my daughter passed. So that was like very important for me to finish that. Like everybody was like, do you just want to stop and do you want to? No, that was like very important for me to finish that because I feel like I started doing that process with her in my stomach and I owed it to her and myself to finish it out. So it was certain things, even though that had happened, that still had to be done. And then I still had to figure out how to be a mom in the midst of all that going on. So that was one thing that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get over this. I don't know what to do. And then that's also when I found kickboxing as another outlet and form of therapy. So that was very therapeutic for me. And it was cheaper than hiring a therapist. Hiring a therapist at that point in time. And the counselors that they sent me to during my time of grief and loss did not align with me. So I had pretty much just like shut them off and was like trying to figure out my own regimen. So it was pretty much like YouTube videos kind of helped with that pivotal point. And then along this journey, of course, like I said, the grief of like losing friends, like people don't know how to handle you anymore. Grief can be a very lonely place is what I'm learning, especially recently losing my mom in November. Like people don't know what to say to you. They act like you contagious or something. Like don't make me feel like I already feel is, isolated and singled out. Like it can, grief can be a very lonely place to be. Um, what's been helping me with my mom's passing would be just like all the things that she instilled in me. Like it's like still I can just hear her all the time because we was very, very close and very bonded. So it's like I could constantly hear her all the time. She's like a tape recorder in my head. what helped me a lot was also reading a book called Think You'll Be Happy. So if you are somebody that's tuned in and listening to this, definitely grab a book called Think You'll Be Happy by Nicole Avon. And that definitely helped me a lot with my grieving process, both now and then.
Wow. Wow. Well, again, first off, truly do appreciate your transparency and sharing what you shared. And that subject matter of grief is, as you stated, it's very multidimensional, and it is more than just the physical, death, if you will, of a loved one, or what have you. It goes way beyond that, and that's why I said at the top of the show, what was so powerful about what you do is, about how you touch all facets of one's, state of being, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, because you understand
Yes,
that all of those things come together as one. That they have to, in order for you to be able to again to deal with the challenges of life. Like, I can't even imagine, and I won't even pretend to imagine what it would be like to to lose a child, especially, as a woman, to carry the child for the term that you did, and then you get all the way pretty much to the finish line only for, the child to be stillborn. And then, as you stated, the fact that at the beginning of even finding out that you were pregnant, you had in your mind, I don't want this child. And one thing that I found really interesting about that is, usually when you have a woman who is saying, I don't want this child, I don't want, for whatever the reason is, oftentimes the response to that would be, contemplating about the possibility of an abortion. But yet I didn't hear you say that. I didn't hear you speak to that. It was like, I don't want this kid, but I never thought about per se getting rid of the kid or anything like that. But then yet in the end, I lose the child, and I felt hurt by it, like you said, like as if God had, turned on me. Now, do I think that God was punishing you for feeling the way that you felt? No. And that's the thing about storms, that is important for everybody to understand, is that, there was a point in time when, when storms would come my way, where I automatically interpreted that as just being, maybe punishment for something that I did, or maybe it was just, bad, a streak of bad luck, or bad circumstances in your life, or what have you. But, as I am, and I'm not going to say as I've matured, as I continue to mature in my walk with God, I began to understand that these storms are really opportunities,
yeah,
and they're not necessarily should be viewed as negative events. They're really, even though they may not feel good to us, because you talked about earlier about that comfort problem,
hmm,
it may be uncomfortable being in the storm, but God allows these storms to come our way. It's never to hurt us. It's never to penalize us. It's never to punish us. And so that's why I say, even in your situation, he wasn't punishing you for feeling how you felt. I think he actually understood that you were, you know, maybe a combination of worried and concerned. How am I going to do this? Because this wasn't the best timing, with everything going on in your life at that particular point. You had just had a baby, not even a year before that. So it just didn't feel right. But sometimes God has to allow us to be tested by these storms to remind us that no matter what challenges we're up against, no matter what we go through, if we just lean and trust in Him, He'll make a way. He will take what appears to be impossible to handle, what appears to be insurmountable, in terms of this burden, this weight, or what have you. He can take those moments and turn them into opportunities to show to you that, no, you can get through this too, even though it may not seem like you have what you need. That it may not seem like it's the right time. It may not seem like it's the right circumstances. You can do this, but you have to learn to trust me. You have to learn to be dependent upon me. And so, unfortunately, but it's unfortunate, but it's fortunately that He
right,
loves us enough to say, I'm going to show you why you need to be dependent upon me. I'm going to show you what it means to trust in me. So I got to let you go through something. And in this case, your something was losing a child. Again, not for punishment's sake, but for, I had to put you in a place, in other words, where can't nobody help you heal from this but me. You
bad,
talked about friends, all of a sudden treating you like you're a leper or something, because I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know how to connect with you. And maybe some who are talking to you, don't understand that when you have to come alongside somebody, especially during a time like this, some of the best words that you can say are no words at all. Just be there. Don't tell me
Mm-hmm.
I know what you feeling. I know it's gonna be all right. Is it? Don't even tell me necessarily to just trust in God and He'll make it better, because they may not understand that you mad with God, which you were. I'm mad at God right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be really
Mm-hmm.
careful about when you call yourself coming alongside, whether you don't mean any harm or not. Sometimes the best comfort is just to let that person know, I'm here if you need me.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Yes.
Sometimes that's all you need to say. If I'm in your presence, all I might need to do is put my arm around you and just sit there and let you do whatever it is that you do. If you say nothing, we say nothing. If you shed a tear, I hand you a tissue. If you just decide to just vent and talk, I just sit there and listen and don't inject an opinion, a feeling, a thought. Allow you to process that, but also allow you to, to feel the presence of knowing that I'm not in this by myself. Somebody cares enough about me, that they're there for me, that they're praying for me, that they're making themselves available if I need them. If I never call them, that's fine, but they've at least said, I'm here if you need me, whatever that means. And so I think that's so powerful that you spoke to grief the way that you did, and sharing the story that you did. And again, when I think about, as we look to where you are today, you know, your life coaching, your physical coaching, you're doing all of these things, but how much more effective are you in this role because of what you went through? You can share testimonies like you're
Right.
sharing right now, like wow, you did that, and you are doing this today. Because there could be somebody else could go through that same thing, and they might feel bitter, they might feel some kind of way, and they don't have it in them to pour into somebody else, and to feel you, because you even talked about that was something that was imparted in you even as a kid, that whole
Yeah.
feeling of caring for people, having a heart for people,
Yes.
because you saw some stuff that didn't sit well. You saw death, you saw other things around you that just wasn't right, and it just naturally gave you an instinctive care for people. And the way I see it, it unlocked the gift that was already in you to be able to come alongside people. And it's just beginning to manifest itself as the years have gone on, the experiences that you've gone through, the challenges that you've gone through. And I can relate as well when you talked about your mom's passing, when you speak about when you have that close bond with your mom, and I was the same way with mine. You talked about how it's almost like a tape recorder playing in your head, like every time that you're thinking about something, what to do, how to handle a situation. Maybe if you're starting to doubt yourself or whatever, it's almost sudden that voice, those words, they play up in your head, and it's a reminder to you. Okay, let me pull myself together, and it actually puts a smile on your face. It makes you feel like her presence is still here while she may be physically gone. Everything that she imparted in me
Absolutely.
is still walking with me, and keeping me uplifted everywhere I go. And so that in itself is a blessing. And then the last thing I'll say about this is, you talked about, a book, that you delved into that kind of helped you to deal with your grieving process, and processing everything. And you even talked about how journaling in general has been really good for you to express yourself. And I was kind of the same way. Even when I wrote my book, it was like, as I shared with you on the podcast when we first met, was like, it was to honor my mom. It was to get out everything that I felt about her, what I thought about her, sharing her story. It was like I'm writing this book, but it's also therapeutic, it's also healing at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. So books can do that for you, whether it's you picking up a book that's already prepared out there for you to read and be inspired by, or if you decide to drop a pen, paper and pen together, or get on your laptop and start typing to tell your own story. Because I'm a firm believer, everybody has a story to tell, whether you believe that or not. We
Absolutely.
all could write a book on something in our lives that could be impactful and changing for somebody who has an opportunity to have that book in their hands. So do not take that lightly, whether it's the book that you refer to, whether it's me referring to you to my book, Blessings in the Streets, or any other books out there. There are plenty of choices out there that are available that can help you in that process. And then, and I know I said one last thing, but I love the fact that even your grief opens you up into another area of release. And you spoke about the kickboxing. It was like
Oh
it was
yeah.
a little bit cheaper than just the traditional therapy. But I've never kickboxed before, but I just think about the concept of kickboxing. Sometimes when you're angry, when you're going through, you just need to hit something. I need to kick something. and that's a safe environment for you to do that without getting yourself locked up from hitting and kicking somebody that, or damaging something in the house because kick the wall or punch the wall. Let me kick a bag. Let me release. Let me get it out of my system. So I love just your whole perspective and your mindset and how you turned what was otherwise a very hurtful and a painful time, and you leveraged that, and you allow God to guide you in leveraging that to again make it something positive to glean from it, something positive to pull out of it. So that's so important, so we don't get caught and stuck into that depressive state, because it's very easy to
Yes,
get
and
trapped into that.
it's so easy. And when I experience these type of situations, and I watch a lot of documentaries and a lot of stories, and I started thinking, I understand now how people turn into alcoholics. Understand now how people spiral into prostitution and drug addiction. And I get it. You so hurt that you feel like this is the only pacifier. This is the only thing that's going to satisfy this urge, this crave. I need something to fill this void. I get it. But instead of me taking that route because I seen what that route does, I'm like, let me go this way. Let me
Yep.
try this. And once I made up my mind, I said, let me see what happens if I don't quit. It's easy to give up, y'all. That's the easy. I'm talking about. That's the easiest thing to do is quit, and the devil wants you to quit. He
Absolutely.
want to put you down for the count. He wants you to quit. So the harder thing to do is not give up, even when you feel like you want to give up. It be days that I want to give up. But I heard my mom in my head saying, take the bitter with the sweet and roll with the punches and go a little harder. Because that's how she was. Like that's just how she was to the very last day. She would complain, she would grit her teeth, she would pray, she would scream to God, but she was strong all the way to the end. So it's like I have to have that same type of thing. Like she told me the last words to me was, I'm like crying. I'm crying because I'm knowing that she leaving me. And I'm just hysterical and I'm just crying. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to be able to do this without you. What am I going to do? I don't know how life going to be. Like, this is going to be crazy. Like, I'm like talking to her and she's like, I'm talking about the most calmest thing ever. She's like, you'll be okay. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, really?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, you're right. I'm gonna be okay. And I'm like, I watched you go through losing your mother. And I watched my mama go through so much different types of pain in her life. And when you start talking about your book, I definitely do want to write a book that does, kind of go deeper into how my childhood was, surrounded with her and how she really cultivated like the type of person that I am and how strong that she made me just watching her, just modeling her be so strong and get through trials and storms. And I'm just like, man, like if I would have gave up. It's
Hmm.
certain things like the people back in our day, like back in the day, like 50s, 60s babies, they are hard bodies. Like they level of going through is like on a whole nother level we haven't experienced that we can only ask God for like that type of strength, literally. And that's like what I've been doing on a daily, like waking up asking God for joy, but also being like in gratitude that I had my mom's long enough to develop me into my adult life. I know people that lost their mom when we was in high school, or lost their daddy when we was in elementary, or parents when they was growing up. So I did have the privilege of having my mom till I was an adult, and she fully felt like, okay, you can take care of yourself. Like you good,
Hmm.
you can take care of yourself. And that's what get me by. Like, and knowing that I got some heavy hitters on the spiritual side, like it was like when I read the book Think You'll Be Happy, it made me transform my thinking because we always can feel sad, right? Like we can feel sad, but if you let the sadness, if you like when I think about my mom, I don't think sad though. Like it
Mm-hmm.
like bring me joy. It brings me joy. So I try to let even when I'm feeling sad, I try to think of something that bring me gratitude. Like I'm thankful for her life because she gave me life. And I'm thankful for my life because without me, it wouldn't be my children. I wouldn't have been able to have my children. So I'm thankful for her, for me, for, so it's like finding just those little things to, uplift your spirits, finding just, I mean, sometimes you got to pull far. Sometimes you got to go reaching way down to find these things because some days are darker than others. Every day,
Exactly.
not, yeah, like every day not going to be a good day, but every bad moment don't determine the whole day. Like, of course, you have a bad moment, but you don't have to let it drag you for the whole day. I know some people be like, they morning start out bad. Oh, I'm gonna have a bad day. No, you just had a bad spot in
Right.
your morning. You can create your whole morning over from that very point by changing your mindset. So when I really realized that your mindset, like you have to unlock everything in your mindset and then everything else will follow, that's the key. That's the key. You have to keep your mindset like focused, even in the face of adversity, even in the times where you feel like I've had enough. Even the times you feel like I can't take no more. That's go lay it at the altar. Go to the prayer closet, whatever form of meditation. If you got to pray to the universe, everybody do different these days. Whatever God you believe in, whatever thing, entity you connect to, that's what you go to when you in those really dark times.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from you as you're highlighting all of these things, it's like you're understanding that life is too short for you to stay stuck. Life is too short for you to spend all your energy complaining and feeling miserable about what you don't have, or you have to take life by the horn, so to speak, and just go for it all, and have an appreciation for it. That kind of connects with our title for the show. I don't know if you caught that. Our show for today is Life is But a Vapor. Life
Yeah.
goes so fast, so quickly, blink of an eye. You go from, it was just yesterday that I was a kid. Now I'm a grown up. It was just yesterday that I was just getting turned into adulthood. Now I'm a middle age. And I was just in middle age. Now I'm a senior citizen. Now I'm on my deathbed. It happens so fast. And if you're not careful, if you spend your time and your energy on things that don't matter, time and energy, feeling sorry for yourself, and that whole, like you said, that whole woe is me, down and out moment. And there's nothing wrong with you having,
Right.
your moment to express how you feel. We're all going to be sad some days, angry some days, frustrated. Okay, it's perfectly okay, and it's actually healthy for you to release whatever that feeling is that you're having. It's just not healthy for you to stay stuck there. You get it out your
Absolutely.
system. You take you a couple of deep breaths, and then you say, okay, all right, Lord, where am I supposed to go with this from here? Show me. I don't know what to do, but I'm trusting that you do. Lead me down whatever path. Tell me, give me whatever guidance, whatever direction that is, so that I can move forward. I was just having that conversation with somebody just the other day, about passing of a loved one, and it's like, one of the things that people have to understand is like you'll never get over this, but you can,
No.
but you can move forward. You know,
You
you know,
right.
don't
Right.
tell me I need to move on, because I'm never going to move on, but I am going to move forward. And there's a difference. I can move forward by still, but yeah, every day I'm gonna think about mom. Every day I'm gonna think about that child that I didn't get a chance to develop a relationship with. Every day I'm gonna think about these things, or those memories, those opportunities. But again, I don't have to stay stuck in what I lost or what I missed out on, because there's so much more for me to gain, so much more for me to benefit. I just got to dust myself off, get reset, get refocused, and move forward. And again, and allow God to lead me accordingly. I mean, because as you stated, you do have to, find your source of connection. Now, I will put the caveat of saying, be careful what you choose, because you spoke to
Yes.
that. Growing up, I got to pick, Am I going to go this environment because it's comfortable, because it's convenient, because it's easy? Or if I'm going to go this route because maybe it may be some challenges, it may be a little harder for me, it may take longer, but it's going to be in my best interest. Which one am I going to choose? So choose wisely, choose wisely at
Absolutely
that
shoes
path you
wise.
go. Choose wisely with that circle that you keep around you. Choose wisely choose wisely as to who you are connecting with and associating with whoever, even to who you're sharing your dreams and aspirations with. Choose wisely, because
Yes.
everybody doesn't mean you well. Everybody doesn't want to see you succeed. Everybody doesn't want to see you prosper and impact and change the world. So those things matter. So I'm so appreciative of you sharing what you
Definitely.
shared. Yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
definitely matters. Like we have to pick our heart.
Yeah.
Like we
Pick
gotta
your
pick our
heart.
heart. It's like, is you gonna do this route and it's be hard? Are you gonna do this route and it be even a little bit more challenging, a little bit more productive? And like you said, it might take a little longer, but it's the legitimate way to do things. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of the time we'll be in a lot of these environments and we're trying to please the people that's in these environments, and we have this fear of leaving these people behind, success guilt and things like that. Like you experience that, and then you like, dang, these people that when I did an audit of my environment and my life and the people that I attach myself to, I had to think like, are these people that I can elevate with? Can they
Hmm.
elevate me? And even with me, am I adding value to you? Am I helping your life in any type of way? And when you start, doing your evaluations, you be like, well, that person really not elevating me. They're really not going the direction. It hurt, but you can't really hang with that person. You can't really associate yourself with that person because they're not going in the same direction that you going in. And that's like another, like I was saying, like there's so many different parts of grief. Like when
Hmm.
my mother got really sick, I silently closed my business. Like I had business up and running in downtown, and I silently just closed the doors because at that point I'm like, I just really want to spend as much time that I had left with my mom. So I'm like, I'm just gonna close the doors. But even that was a level of grief because I'm like, I'm losing my business. Like
Hmm.
I lost my business in the physical, like I don't have a location where you can go to and people can vent, and it's this beautiful view of downtown, and I'm just like, I'm crying because I felt very defeated. I felt discouraged. I'm like, I am not even, you know what? I'm just not even going to call this, I'm not going to call myself a business owner anymore. Like, I was over it
Hmm.
until one day Sabrina Ford calls me and she's like, Shae, what's going on? Where you been? And I'm just like, wow, those type of reminders, like people reminds you like who you are, what you've been doing. Them the type of people that I was like, man, I need more of these type of people around me. And I was so glad to have met her, doing things just like this, just podcasting and speaking and getting to know people. And she was one of the first people to see me disappear and hit me up like, hey, like where you been? And I was like, man, I was trying to close this business. And here this girl go trying to ask me
Yep.
where I been at. And so it was just kind of like confirmation, like, no, like you gotta keep going, like you gotta keep doing it. So I started thinking like other ways that I can still keep my business going without being at a physical location. Of course, we got everything virtual now, but it's like for me, I like that personal connection. So
Right.
I miss having my studio, but I was like, when I do have my next studio, now I know what to do. As a business owner, now I know what I need to do more of, less of, what's the hot seasons, what's not, what's in, what's not. So it's like now I'll be able to come back, bigger, better, with more experience and more things to offer.
Absolutely. So again, all of that is so powerful, and I know you get shout out to Sabrina Ford. I've had a chance to have her on the podcast as well. But people like that, and she was able to connect with you in this particular case. She was able to connect and feel you, what you were dealing with right now, because again, she's a similar person like you. She has a spirit of caring for other people, so she felt something's going on, something's up with Shae. Let me check in with her, and then she checks in with you, and let me be of encouragement to her. Let me let her know she's not dealing with this by herself. You know, you got some people
Right.
who are cheering you on, supporting you. You need people like that in your circle, in your environment, that will see your need and come alongside without you having to feel like you owe them something or anything. They just are genuinely and doing it from the heart because they genuinely care about people. And so that's a beautiful thing,
Yep.
and I'm glad you all made able to make that connection. And just like I'm glad I was able to make the connection with her and others, the Furman Jackson of the world and people like that,
Yes.
to just doing their thing. So yeah, awesome, awesome. Um, so when you do, I'm kind of curious to know, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but when you do find yourself dealing with challenging and adverse moments, obviously you've shared some very heavy stuff, but again, all of our storms aren't going to always be, intense at the level of some of what we've talked about today. Sometimes it's just the day to day life and type stuff that we go through. I'm curious to know, what is it that you like to do if you wake up today and it's just one of them days where I got some stuff I got to deal with, some challenges, some adversity that I'm faced with. What is it that you like to do that kind of helps you to process and work your way through those challenging times, those challenging moments? Again, regardless of what magnitude that they're coming at you at, what is that regiment that flows best for you, that kind of let you be locked in, and focusing on what you're trying to do, but also, being able to do it in a healthy and a productive way? I'm just kind of curious to know what routine works best for you.
So for me, usually when you're feeling this type of anxiety or you wake up in a funk or whatever, it's because you're trying to gain some sense of clarity, some sense of understanding. So really just sitting with yourself. And if you're a parent, sometimes you gotta sacrifice your sleep for this. It's almost like, how bad do you want it?
Hmm.
At that point, you're going to wake up 30 minutes before the whole house so you can get your peaceful moment that you need. If you need an hour, you might have to wake up an hour early before the house wakes up so that you're able to ground yourself. For me, I go get me some tea in the morning. I make me some tea. Um, might read me a scripture, listen to something motivational to set my tone. I think a lot of us don't set our tone for the day.
Hmm.
So you have to set your tone for the day to tell your mind and body how you want your day to flow and go. If you always waking up in chaos and you always waking up, and I used to be one of them people, y'all. I wake up right before I gotta go to work, or I wake up right. Give your body and mind time to process what's going on. Give yourself a little bit of time before you getting out the door. Like, don't always have a rushing spirit. Like, don't
Hmm.
always be so eager to go, because you never know what you saving yourself from or what you won't run into. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, start, being just intentional on setting your whole tone for the day so your day won't be chaotic because you set your tone. If you wake up and you always at the blink of a button, you always rushing, try to clock in, that's how your whole day gonna go. It's gonna go in, it's gonna go chaotic, it's gonna go in a hurry. So setting your tone for the day matters. So, like for me, it's getting some tea. I try to dedicate 25 minutes of reading a day. Try to get some type of movement in my body, whether that's stretching, yoga. It don't have to be no hard cardio like kickboxing, but that's a great way to give you some energy to start your day. Like, even the people that always complain about being tired, like, I promise, if you start making your body go into motion, any type of motion, when you start rejecting it in your mind and your body know you're going to do it anyway, your body will thank you so much later in the long.
Hmm.
So is that eating foods that don't make you feel so tired? Because normally when we feel tired, they just make us feel depressed or sad. But you're interpreting it as sadness when you're just stupid tired from all the stuff that you ate. So your body just interpreted it as you being sad and down and depressed. And So it's like trying to eat food that keep you on a high vibe, like starting your days off with fruit, tea, water, not so much sugars and stuff like that. Because you really have to set the tone to start your day. That's like so important. Um, and being in motion, being intentional about where you put your time and where you put your energy into as well. Because I notice like now, like I really don't talk to people as much if it's not about something positive or productive or conducive, because it's like if you don't watch it, you'll just be consumed in a lot of gossip. And it's so easy to get consumed in a lot of gossip about nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll be arguing with your friends about Sexy Red and why you like Cardi B more, and they both like, I mean, just conversations that just don't, it's not conducive or productive to neither one of us. Like that's okay sometimes, but it's like when you having them conversations all the time and we trying to live a different life, it's just not conducive or productive to what you're trying to do. So just being intentional in alignment with people that, like you said, people that can support you, people that's gonna motivate you and push you into trying to do better. I listen to a lot of affirmation music that helped me a lot too. I listen to Tony Jones. She's a great affirmation person. Landrell is another person that I listen to as far as like affirmations. And this helps me like just ground myself, reminding yourself to express gratitude, reminding yourself that you are an energy budget. One of my favorite songs is affirmations is Energy Budget by Tony Jones, because we have to budget our energy. We have to be, we have to be stingy with our energy and,
Mm.
who we allow to consume it. And when we put in our, like checking ourselves, knowing when you contributing too much time, being real, like honest with yourself. And I think that's what a lot of us lack, because we always feel that even like in our community, we feel like if a person telling you something like they antagonizing you or they're getting on to you, like know the difference between somebody antagonizing you and somebody challenging you to do better. Because
Mm.
it is people that's gonna challenge you like, man, I know you can do better than that. I done seen you be at your best. This isn't your best. And if you are a person that can't take that type of criticism, you need to check yourself,
Mm.
because you need them type of people around you. You don't need the yes people all the time that's
Right.
agreeing with everything you say and just letting you go about life like you have no purpose. So I lost a lot of people. I literally lose followers. I noticed I was losing followers, like 2 followers a day. And I had one person tell me, I unfollowed you because you were too positive. I said,
Mm. Too positive.
I was too positive. I said, wow, I never knew that it was a such thing. But then I was like, I didn't even get offended, because you're just not in alignment with me. And if my positivity bothers you, I definitely don't want to be your friend.
Mm. Wow.
But
Wow.
that's the world we live in, y'all. People don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be influenced by positivity. As you see, a lot of the negative rhetoric gets highlighted way more than the positive things anyway. So people are wired this way. So because of that, we have to try extra hard and be extra intentional about what we do and what we ingest and how we operate in our world, in our life.
Love that. Love that. Because basically what I heard in all that you just shared, as we talk about this subject of dealing with adversity and overcoming challenges, is you're basically speaking about you got to have a lifestyle mentality that starts from the moment you step out of the bed to how you're going to set that tone for the day. And what I'm hearing is that if we're doing these things and we're intentional about doing these things, then it doesn't really matter what storm that we didn't see coming for the day. I'm actually going to be able to take the hit from that storm because I've equipped myself. I've put on, as the Bible teaches us, I've put on that whole armor. I'm ready. I'm ready for battle. It may not be a fight today, but in case it is, I'm already ready because I stay intentional in my preparedness, in my mental, in my emotional, in my physical, in my spiritual. You spoke to all aspects of that. I'm ready every day. I'm not even waiting until something happened and
No.
then starting to prepare. I'm preparing. I'm staying ready, regardless of what may or may not happen. I can't control that. If the storm is going to come, it's going to come, and it's not. And I'm not going to know the exact timing of it. I'm not going to know the exact level of intensity of it. But I'm going to be ready for it because I'm intentional about what I do. I'm intentional about setting that tone, and so that is so powerful. And then that last piece that
Yes.
you spoke to about people actually feeling like you're too positive, and being turned off by that. The way I see it, I look at that situation and I take it to a whole deeper meaning about your positive. That's just your way of pushing away the negatives, the enemies, the ones, the adversaries that are wanting to see you not do well, wanting to not see other people prosper around you or whatever. So if somebody's getting turned off by you being positive, like you said, that's actually a good thing. I'm not even tripping about that. That means that I pushed away a devil. I pushed away an adversary. I pushed away somebody that was looking to start their day to be intentional about, maybe putting forth harm and ill will and negative vibes and negative energies for other people. If my positivity pushed them away, made them, I don't want to be around that, great. You know, Step away because I don't want that in my space anyway. And for those who are checking me out, who are following me, I don't want that for them either because I'm here to try to, as we said at the top of the show, I'm here to try to empower. I'm here to try to educate. I'm here to try to uplift. I don't need your energy, your negative energy vibes coming in and trying to distort that. I'm trying to pour into people. There's some people in a funk right now. There's some people going through. The last thing I need you to do is jump in and help add fuel to that. We're trying to get them up out of that. So if that bothered you, then that means I'm doing my job.
That.
I'm on point. I need to keep doing what I'm doing. In fact, I might need to elevate it even more because clearly it's working. because
Right.
and it's revealing because that's the thing. And I know this is sort of a side note, but that's why it's so important that we don't get caught up per se in our following because everybody that follows you, and I saw somebody posted this the other day. I don't know who it was, but just because they follow you doesn't mean that they support you. Some people are following you because they're trying to see, they're waiting for you to crumble. They're waiting for you to fall. They're looking for an opportunity to inject perhaps some doubt, some negativity into what you're doing. So don't get caught up in that. I mean, even when I think about my podcast and my take. I mean, sure, I would love to have a podcast that there's some out there that got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and all of that. But the way I see it, at the end of the day, whenever I do an episode, if one person was touched, if one person was impacted, even into our sharing today, if somebody gets a chance to check this out and they were moved and touched and inspired by what you had to say today, that was a win. And I'm good
Right.
with that. I'm good with that. I don't have to have a million folks to make me, because that it gets to the point to where it just is more about ego and pride and I just want to pump stats, but stats is cool, but am I making impact? Am I changing? Am I helping people, or do I just got the bragging rights? Because at the end of the day, when I'm going through, when I'm really at my lowest and darkest moments, how many of them followers are going to be there for me? How many of those people could I call up, or how many of those people going to call me to check in on me to see if I'm all right? Or if I fall off, will all of a sudden my numbers just start to trickle down? Now you're no longer feeling me. No, you're no longer interested in hearing me because I'm not the thing right now. I'm not the trend at the
Right.
moment, So, I'll take a small circle any day if I know it's a real and authentic and genuine circle versus just the bragging rights of saying I know a whole bunch of people or a whole bunch of people check me out. If they don't mean me well, if they're not in support of me, I can't count upon them to be there for me again at my worst and darkest moments. Then maybe it's best that we're not, connected with each other, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
So that's what makes it so powerful about what you just shared about how you process and how you deal with it. It's just the intentionality of just preparing yourself
Yeah.
each day from the start of that day, setting that tone, and being prepared accordingly. So I love that. Love that.
Right. And then when
Um,
you realize to speak to the storm, when you realize that the storms are going to come, right? Because I know a lot of us, like for me, before I got on this journey, I'll be like, God, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. Why is all this bad stuff happening to me? I am a good person. I do good things for people. I do this and that. And then I started to realize bad things happen to good people, just like good things happen for bad people.
Mhm.
We not the exception for the rules. A lot of the time we think we are, but we're not. So I started looking at it like, okay, I started not categorizing things as good or bad. I just
Mhm.
started categorizing things as they happen. Like, okay, this was something that happened. What am I gonna do? That's where we're at. Because things are going to happen. Life is going to keep life in. And I often think back to my mom will be like, well, when I die, I ain't gonna know, and life gonna keep going on. And that is what happened. I'm sitting here for the most part of everything I missed. I just wish I could call and tell her, you was right.
Mhm.
Everything you said it was gonna happen when you left, it happened. Because she already knew and she was already preparing me for what would
Mhm.
happen. So it's like different things do prepare us for different moments, and different things propel us into different aspects of our life. So without certain things happening, like you were saying, without certain things happening, I wouldn't be who I am. Of course, we always will be like, oh, it's contrary, we would want things to go differently and we would want this and that, but that's just a part of who we are, how God wanted our story to be. Like you said, if everybody had the same testimony, life would be boring. I think I love
Right.
hearing everybody different testimonies. I think that life would be boring if it wasn't somebody that was like put to the ultimate type of test, and you'd be like, wow, like you passed that test. Like
Mhm.
that was a big one, and when you found out that other people went through the same thing as you just be like, okay, cool, I'm not in this world by myself. I think I can get through this. And you have to be constantly surrounding yourself with them type of people. Like you said, life is so short. Like when I started losing people that was my age and younger than me, and people that I grew up with, to sclerosis of the liver because their daddy passed away and now they just turned into an alcoholic. When I say y'all, it get deep, and when I tell y'all, I understand, but we can't be so consumed with our feelings that we don't check in on really who we want to be or who God wants us to be. A lot of the time we be veering off of what God wants us to do. And like for me, every time I veer off, something happened and I get called right back.
Mhm.
From the very thing I would be running from. I'll be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then the next thing you know, it could be years later, y'all. I'm telling you. It could be weeks later, months later, years later, and you will be diverted right back to the very thing that you said, I ain't want to do this. I was running from it. And it be right back. It come right back. You like, okay. Like for me, going back to school, it's been a big thing. I wanted to do it when I wanted to go back, but after I went and got my associates and losing my daughter, got the associates, I'm like, I need a break from school. Like, I'm gonna take a break. And when I took a break, life started happening again. My daddy got incarcerated in 2020, been incarcerated since 2020. Then that's kind of when my mama health started failing. So it's like, even before she passed, I felt like this sense of disconnect from my parents. Like I felt a deep sense of I'm here out here by myself, because I had to put my mom in a nursing home and then my daddy's locked up. So it's like when these type of situations are happening, y'all, and you feel like you have nobody, nothing, you're going to need strong people. You're gonna
Mhm.
need God and strong people in your corner to help you get through them type of situations. Luckily, I have a pretty strong support system when it comes to like my fiance, my sister. She really tried to hold me up. My uncle been stepping in really a lot since my daddy been incarcerated. So I've been really blessed and thankful for him filling in as a father figure since my daddy been incarcerated. But when I tell y'all, like it can get so deep, and there's so much stuff I can tell y'all that happened in this time that I've been away that y'all would be like, it's unbelievable. Like, bitch, how you come back and you smiling and you laughing, and I didn't even think that I would be at this point this fast, but I guess like you said, like I was already in a state of just staying ready,
Mm-hmm.
staying ready for whatever was coming, because y'all, life is gonna always keep happening, but it's what we do to come out of it, how long we stay. You decide how long you stay in the funk. I'm in some groups where it's women that lost their children. It's been 10 years and they have not came out of their funk. They have not came out of depression. And one day I believe that they will, but they have to see themselves more valuable than giving their life to depression. Otherwise, you're not living for your child. You're not living for your grandmother. They want you to live. Of everything that I know for sure that my mom would want for me, it would be for me to
And that is so true, especially like you said, you spoke to about your mom, and my mom was the same way. I refer to those times in the book, uh, in my book, as those death conversations, where she was trying to prepare me, this day is going to come, and this is what I want you to be. I want you to be ready for that. I know it's going to be sad, and I'm okay with you having that moment, but I definitely don't want you stuck there. I mean, it'll be 13 years this year, in June with my mom, since my mom passed. And I can guarantee you, she would not be happy if she knew that all this time later I was just sitting around moping, not doing anything, not living life. She would have been like, I did not make all of these sacrifices and do what I did for you to be moping around. I did my part. I tried the best as I could, as God led me to do. I gave you all the tools that you needed to be okay. I saw with my own eyes that you were going to be okay. So that's what made it comfortable for me to close them, because I knew you were going to be all right.
live.
So I need you to be all right. And I
Right.
need you to do all the things that we talked about. I need you to be that big success, that great game changer, that impact person. I need you to be all that and then some. If you want to make me proud, you want to make me feel good
Right.
in my passing, then do that. Walk out all that I poured into you. Walk it out and make it happen. And that's what'll bring joy to me. That's what'll put a smile to me as I take my last breath. That's what you do for me. And so, as you spoke to, in honor of those mothers, or for somebody else, whatever that individual was for you, whether it was a dad, a grandparent, an uncle, a sibling, whoever, do that for them. Don't let their time and their efforts into you go in vain. They made that sacrifice. They poured into you. Then let's do it. Let's make it happen. And of course, obviously, first and foremost, you have a God that will get you through anything. There's nothing too big for him to handle. So trust him and let him guide you accordingly. And I promise you, it's going to be amazing as to what you can accomplish, as to what you can achieve, as to the lives that you can change, both for yourself and for others. So important. And so I'm glad you're touching on those things, because it's so valuable. And we got to get out of that. When it comes to that storm moment, we got to get out of that mindset of why me, and you have to change that and say, why not you? Why not you? What
Why
makes you so
not?
special?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you spoke to a very thing that many of us say, even myself been guilty. I'm this, I'm that, I'm good. And okay, you are a lot of things, but there's some other stuff that you are too, that I wouldn't, and I say, all right, God is saying I wouldn't put that in the good category. So why not you? There's some stuff that you need to go through
Mm-hmm.
that'll help make you better, but will also in turn allow you to be in position to help others be better too. So don't get so high and
Right.
mighty and full of yourself like you somehow are supposed to be, as you said, I'm supposed to be excused from the storms. I'm supposed to be pardoned from hard times and challenges. Says who? Even if you got it going on right now, you could have, you know, multiple zeros at the end of your bank account balance. You can have the lavish home, lavish cars, all of those things. But you're one job loss, one unfortunate illness, one unfortunate happening in life, that can, all of that can be wiped away. And then what? What matters to
That
you the most? Who are you leaning on the most? Why do you get to be the exception to that? We're all subject to those things. It's not that you won't go through them.
so
It's
true.
it's more so, how are you going to respond when it happens? What's going to be your process in working through that? You going to give up? Are you going to soak? Are you going to mope? Are you going to lean into a source that's not a healthy source? Be it, am I going to, in other words, am I going to self soothe? Whether it's some
Yeah.
alcohol or some drugs or some, sexual recklessness. Am I going to use that, or am I going to say, you know what, I'm in this situation. It's hard. It's tough, but I know what source I need to lean into that can handle it all, and I'm just going to keep me accordingly and do whatever it is that he say, even if I don't understand it all, even if it don't make sense to me. I'm gonna do it because I know his record is undefeated. He's never lost a fight. He's never lost a battle. So why am I tripping?
Right.
And
Right.
so
I literally had
it's
a
all about
person.
the mindset.
Yes, I literally had a person to tell me, like, think of a time where, you asked God for something and he didn't intervene. And I was literally sitting there and I was thinking, I was like thinking, and I was like really thinking. And I could not think of a time.
Hmm.
And I was like, I can't think of a time where my desire of my heart was so deep it didn't get responded to. So God know our heart. He knows the desires of our heart. And it bring me back to, like, when someone is, like you said, those deaf conversations, or someone is in the transitioning phase, you get to really see and experience what spirit looks like, what really is turning over into another realm, rather I say. And you get to experience that firsthand, like people really tapping into that spiritual realm. And when you know those type of things are real, and you have the ability to tap into that source, I feel like you're supposed to use it. We have abilities that we don't even tap into, and we have this source that we can literally utilize whenever we want. And we don't take time to do that. And I think once I started realizing, like you said, like when I realized I wasn't the exception from the storm, like I was gonna get rained on anyway, whether what side of the street I'm on. If the rain gonna come and I'm outside, I'm gonna get rained on. And there's certain things that we have to learn how to accept. And I think as we get older, people putting these type of things into perspective for us be disheartening, because a lot of our parents coddled us for a lot of our lives and didn't tell us these harsh truths. They wasn't really preparing us for certain things. But once you start piecing these things together and be like, oh, well, and not blaming your parents and people for the upbringings. Like, I hate when people be like, well, they didn't have this type of model, so they don't know how to be this. Well, you not having that type of model can definitely show you how not to be. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes knowing how not to be is more important than knowing what you need to be.
Hmm.
I was surrounded by so much stuff that I knew I did not want to be like. So I had a great foundation of, I might not have, at that point in my life when I was younger, I might not have never knew who I wanted to be, but I knew a lot of what I didn't. And I feel like that was way more important to me, knowing who I was at that moment. I knew I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I knew I didn't want to abuse drugs. I knew I didn't want to be in jail. It was all these things that I knew that made people do certain things. I didn't want to be that. So that already in itself, knowing what you don't want to do, your
Hmm.
non-negotiables, not going against your own morals and values, no matter how that look like, you got to stay strong in your belief.
Absolutely. That is so true. Sometimes we may not always know, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? Okay, you got time to figure that out. But if you could, like you said, if you could figure out, I know I don't want this. I know it ain't that. I know it certainly is not this. Those are, like you said, those are equally valuable lessons as to knowing, what you'd like to do. Because, what value would it be in knowing what you want to do, but not understanding the things that you need to be watching out for that could tarnish or could stop you from doing what. And again, that goes back to the whole essence of what our storms and our life journey is about. You have to experience some of that other side of it all, so you can have an appreciation for it. Once you have it, once you arrive at that moment, you will take value in it. You'll take stock in it. It'll mean something to you. That's why it's so important that we just don't, that we're just not having things handed to us. Even as parents, we're so conscious, about wanting to give our kids, quote unquote, everything that we didn't have. And sometimes in the spirit of doing that, while we have good intentions, we forget about the things that we did have that didn't have anything to do necessarily with monetary things, but the values, the lessons. Don't deny your children that, because those things matter. Those were huge in us getting to where we are. So we get so caught up in, I want them to have all the stuff, all the things, all the experiences, and that's cool and all, but don't lose sight of some of those more priceless moments, those priceless lessons, those priceless experiences that you can't buy this. This is things that are passed down. These are lessons that will make them be able to survive. When they get into adulthood, they'll be able to function independently in life, and they won't crumble at the first sign of trouble. They won't break at the first sign of distress. I want them, I only have one child, and that's all I ultimately want. I want her to be successful and prosperous and all that, but I want to know she can hold her own. Like, she's going to be all right, because I'm not going to be around. Her mom's not going to be around forever. I want to know she's going to be able to handle, stuff when it comes her way. She's not going to panic in the middle of the moment, going to go into freak out mode. You can handle yourself. You can hold your own. So all of those things matter. And that's why we're, for my audience, that's why we're spending this time and emphasizing about how you need to approach these storms, and the mindset, the way you go about your day to day, the intentionality of it all. That's what helps you to be able to overcome. That's what helps you to be able to endure. You don't even have to know about the storm that's coming to hit you in the next few months or in the next year or 5 years or 10 years from now. You get that mindset right, that way of thinking, that approach, you get that mastered, it won't matter what comes your way. You'll be ready regardless. So this is very good conversation we're having here. So important. So Shae, if you had a chance to speak to, the younger version of yourself, the version of yourself that, when you think about how you handle things now versus maybe how you saw things back then, the maturity level that you have now versus maybe some things that I wouldn't have handled that the same way back in the day. I would have responded a little bit different. If you had a chance to speak to her, or perhaps there's a young lady that has an opportunity, to listen to our podcast episode this evening, and that person is going through some of the things that you've been challenged by, and they don't know how to process. They don't know how to work through, this moment of adversity. They're stuck. They're feeling some kind of way. I mean, there's some things that you've dealt with that you haven't even shared on the podcast. You've struggled with, you talked about struggling with, postpartum. You talked about, I've seen you speak about stories about struggling with weight, weight issues. You've had challenges, but there's some women out there. There's even some men out there. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. What would be your words of encouragement and to those that are feeling stuck right now and just trying to figure out, how do I get my mind right, my focus right, to be able to have a better perspective in how I approach the challenges of life, so that I can be on the proper path, and again, that leads me to being the best version of myself, that leads me to my purpose in life. What would you have to say to that?
My first piece of advice to that would be, give yourself grace. Like, give yourself time and grace. I think we give more grace to other people than we give to ourselves. Things happen the way you make it happen, but also things happen in God's time. And so it might just not be your time. Like, sometimes we want things to be so instant and we seek a lot of instant gratification. But sometimes it's the compounded things over time that make the biggest impact, or the biggest mountain, that I like to say. So if you constantly compounding and compounding a lot of negativity on top of negativity on top of negativity, you're going to get a mountain of negativity. But if you replace it, with the positive things, that's how you counteract. So when I first started this journey, I would count anything that I thought negative. I would have to think two positives to counteract that one negative. That was my challenge to myself, because for every one negative, I feel like it's two positives. So, learning how to rewire your mindset. But I would say give yourself time and grace. Also, move at your own pace, but don't stop moving.
Mm.
Like, when some people be like, I gotta wait until this and I gotta wait until that. Like, no, you don't have to wait until anything. Like, move at your own pace, but we're not waiting for nothing, baby. Time is waiting for nobody. We're not waiting for anything. We're moving. We're in motion. We're in motion, but we're in motion at our own pace. So if that take a little bit longer, you're free to start over as many times as you need to, but you're not allowed to quit. And that's definitely what I would tell my younger self. You free to start over as many times as you need to. Like, for people, when I tell them about, when I'm talking to my fitness clients, if you have that cookie yet for lunch, that's okay. That don't mean you can have another cookie for dinner, though. You had that cookie for lunch. You made that cookie mistake, but for dinner, we're going to be better. You don't just continue to make and perpetuate the same mistake. You realize it, you catch yourself. Oh, okay, I can't do that. And you do better the next time. The next day, you have an opportunity to start over all new and fresh and do it again. So each day is an opportunity to do something different, learn something new, exercise your mind, and be 1% different than you was the day before. That's every day, just 1%. It don't even require a lot of effort. If you just do 1% effort, give 1%, and you'll be better, 1% better than you was the day before. That's just, it don't require that much effort, just a little bit, just a little bit.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And one thing that you said, and that's a whole different conversation for a different day, but I love the fact that you made mention about exercise your mind, because so many people, and I consider that to be a part of a self-care model that I have, and that's the second part of my self-care model is exercising in the mind, because a lot of times people think exercising is just I'm running, I'm lifting weights and all that. When you're exercising that mind, controlling what comes into it, what you're digesting, what you're processing, that makes all the difference in the world. Because if your head is full of mess and doubt and foolishness, then that's what you're gonna be
Try.
producing. That's what the track that you're gonna be
Yeah.
on. But if it's producing positivity, if it's producing, godly living, if it's producing, positive thoughts, positive mindsets, creativity, looking for ways to impact and change, you are opening up a whole new stratosphere, if you will, of how you can again be a game changer, a change agent, if you will. How you can just impact this world at such a high level, way over and beyond your wildest imaginations. I mean, but that how you're exercising that mind, what are you feeding it, what's going in, makes so much difference. So I just wanted to highlight that because that was interesting that you pointed that out, because it was confirmation for me that yeah, that's something that we definitely have to be mindful for. It's, it's great to be fit, and that's important. We want to be in good shape and
Yes.
eating healthy and all that. That's part of it. But how you are up here, if this is not in a good space mentally, that can throw off everything. So that's why
Everything.
that's why I highlighted at the very beginning of the show. I love your approach because it's full circle. It's encompassing everything. Yeah, my main focus might be starting off with the physical fitness, but I'm capturing everything because I understand that they all are interconnected. They all matter. They all have to be attended to, in order for
They do.
the end results to be what we desire for them to be. So So, Shay, it has been an awesome pleasure having this conversation with you. I have
Yeah,
thoroughly enjoyed it. It is not
me
disappointed in
too.
a bit. I know my audience has been blessed. I know I've been blessed. I'm so thankful that you were gracious enough to accept the invite and be a part of this with me. And you, of course, definitely open the invitation for you to come back anytime to be on the show for us to capture more discussions about this and other things that are valuable and important to talk about. But as is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, before I let you go, I do want to take the opportunity to love on you, to acknowledge you, to lift you up. So if you got anything that's going on right now, or that's something that's coming down the pipe, that we can, that we need to be aware of, to celebrate, to acknowledge, to get connected with, please do share that with us at this time.
So, well, right now, well, as tomorrow, I'm taking my entry exam into getting my BS in. So I'm going to school for my bachelor's of science in nursing. My end goal is to be um, to get my master's of psychiatry and mental health nurse practitioner. That's what I want to do. I feel like we need more melanated people in our realm to be able to be psychiatrists, therapists, counselors. We need more people that speak into our mind, that understand, like where we've been, where we coming from, and how it's different. It's just different for us. So I want to be that support person that be in our community, that make up the 8% of nurse practitioners as well in the Black community. So that's a big aspiration, a big deal for me. So definitely y'all keep me in y'all prayers as I go through this process, because it's gonna be a process. Um, it's gonna be a process, and I also wanted to kind of highlight, like, when things for me, it's me going first. So if you think about going first, how scary it is to do something first, and being the first in your family to do something, then you know how I feel. It's like this type of anxiety that come with going first, being the first to do something. It's like, even when you're in school and they call on you first, you be like, me? Yeah,
Yeah, you.
so when you going first, it's that intense feeling of, you gotta show up. So pray for me as I go through that exam on tomorrow. But I have confidence that I'm going to pass it. Just because it's just something I just been putting off, and God just want me to do it. And so I should be fine. Also, just getting back into the speaking realm. So if anyone is listening to this and you need anybody to be on your podcast as an interview, as encouragement, definitely can contact me. Connect with me at I am Coach Shae across all social media platforms. I try to keep it really simple. So you can reach me at I am Coach Shae on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, my personal page is Shanane. Gotta get it Fleming on Facebook if you are a Facebook person. I'm really big on people following my Facebook page as well, because that's where you get most of the content. I like to say the exclusive content, because Instagram and the other ones don't really get that much attention. So definitely, also be on the lookout for an ebook that will be kind of encompassing, like we've been talking about today, how I've put this into a component of mindset with nutrition and fitness, and how these things play a big component in our success and everyday life, and the things that I just have comprised and of a lot of successful people that I follow and have recognized that they regimens and putting all these different things together work. And just putting different things in there so you won't feel like you're just limited to just one type of thing, and making it easy for people to transition from this stagnant mindset to an active mindset. So definitely being on the lookout for that ebook in the next month or so. I'm really working hard piecing it together and going pushing it out there. It's time for no fear. No fear, no, nothing to stop me in a way. So definitely I'll be looking out for that ebook.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, again, we are excited about what you're doing. We're already going to claim that victory, that, everything's going to go well with your test, with your academic pursuits. So Thank you for sharing that. And we can continue to lift that up in prayer for you, for your many successes in your academic pursuits. Because as you said, we need more melanated representation in these fields that you're speaking to. So I'm excited that you're pursuing that path. And again, I'm already expecting it to be done. It's just a matter of time to work that thing through. Excited about your book. I mean, just if anything, the glimpse of the conversation that we had tonight is all the confirmation that's needed that you have a book in you, and not just one, multiple. There's so many angles, so many
Absolutely.
directions of what you can pour into, whether it's you sharing your personal testimonies or just using your skill sets in terms of the wellness and space that you are in. So she shared with you her contact information. Please reach out to her, whether it's for speaking opportunities, whether it's being one of her new clients for consultations for fitness or just overall just mental health and well-being. She's multifaceted. She's ready to do her thing. And she, as you can see, she has a loving and caring heart, wanting to pour into people. So you can't ask for anything more. So I'm excited for, again, all that you're
Yeah.
doing and all that you're a part of, and much success and
Thank
blessings
you.
to you. And for my listening audience, if you've enjoyed our conversation today, if you love the stories that have been shared and what we're all about here, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment. Because here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is what it's all about. We want to inspire, we want to encourage, we want to uplift, we want to be authentic and transparent in the sharing of our stories with the hopes that you will be motivated by that. You will be inspired by that, that there's something that you can draw from our experiences. Take those gems and these nuggets that have been dropped on you this evening that you can immediately apply to your life that'll help you to better approach those challenging storms of life, those moments of adversity, because we're going to all have them. It's not a matter of if, but when, but it's how you're going to respond to it when those storms hit, and who are you relying upon as being your source and getting you through. And we've made it no secret that God needs to be at the forefront of that. That's who you want to be in a relationship with. And if you haven't made that decision up to this point, I encourage you, I implore you that that's definitely a move that you want to make. It'll be the best decision that you ever make in life because he'll never let you down. His record is undefeated. He loves you unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for you. And with him on your team, with him at the head, there's nothing that you won't be able to accomplish or overcome in the journey of life that we all have to go through. So with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, it's the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You keep persevering. Be intentional about your mindset and how you set the tone for your day so you can equip yourself and be ready for whatever life has to throw at you. You're not worried, you're not fear, you're not anxious. You're grabbing life by the horns because you understand, as we entitled the show for today, life is but a vapor. We don't want to waste it. We want to make the most of it, and we want to be the best versions of ourselves to not only be blessed, but to be a blessing to others. So you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.